Hello, welcome to my shop. My name's Larry Sefton. What I'm going to be doing is showing you how I do a particular brand using my Scorcher 2 that is basically a high-end or high-power pyrography machine. Whenever I talk about this, what I'm going to be doing, I have a piece of cherry, this form right here. This was made probably about 15 years ago. It's what I call a UFO, unfinished object, that's been sitting up in my pile for years. And I've decided to go ahead and put pyrography on it and maybe make it into something useful. It was originally to be something to put spoons and stuff on and put it in your on your counter. So anyway, let's give it a try. So let's make a branding tip for it. This particular branding tip that I'm going to make is going to be a U-shape, and it's going to be made out of 12 gauge nichrome wire, which I don't think anybody's ever really seen too much 12 gauge nichrome wire used. In this particular case, here's a roll of nichrome wire. Whenever you're using a handpiece and a transformer to brand with, if you use too short of a piece of wire, such as this heavy gauge, it becomes nothing more than a dead short. So you've got to have a long enough piece of wire in it to get the resistance in order for it to turn red hot. And that's because there's less resistance in this big wire than there is in a little fine wire. You can go with a little short piece of fine wire and it'll be fine, but whenever you go to the big wire, you have to have a long enough piece to get the proper resistance. So that's what we're going to do. From experience, I know that I'm going to need a piece approximately that long by the time I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right about there. And then what I'm going to do is bend it. And some of you have seen this before. I think I did it in an earlier video. What I do is just use drill bits that I cut off as gauges, and so it looks something like this. So that's what I'm going to use to make my U. So my inside of the U shape is going to be right here. So the first thing I'm going to do in this particular case is grab hold of that and put it in a pair of vice grips in order so that I can hold it easier. And then all we're going to do is grab a hold of this and just bend it right around. Now this, all I did was just bend it right around. We got to get a little bit farther. There we go. You can see what it looks like. Now, let's go ahead and put this away. Otherwise I'll lose it and not find it next time I want it. Just so you know, for safety reasons, I usually wear safety glasses when I'm doing this type work, but with lights and stuff that are on in here in the camera, they get glare, so I've taken them off for this small amount. The risk is very low, but I normally do wear safety glasses when I'm doing some of this work. So the first thing we want to do next is bend this. And I'm going to make a U shape. I want to tighten that U shape up just a little bit more. If you can see the U shape now, if you can see it, let's put my hand on it, see if that gives it to you a little bit better. Let's move up to the camera. You see a better shape. Now what I want to do is right about here is bring it up so that it goes into the handpiece. So you want it to come straight up because whenever you're doing this, it's want to go this direction. So let's slide back and bend it up. and bending them up. Now the issue that you have here is that you really want that curve right there to be very sharp. So what you can do is take it over and put it in your vise, or you can do what I'm going to do here, and you just pound it down and bend that so it's sharper. Bend. And then you bend it back up so they're straight. Next thing you do is check to make sure it's going to go in your handpiece and fit correctly. As you can see, it's pretty doggone close, so I'm going to use that as acceptable. Now, I don't want to cut this real short. I don't want to cut it down around here because I want to make sure I have plenty of wire to make sure it has high enough resistance. So, take a pair of cutters. This is where you have to be quite careful. When you're cutting this, sometimes it wants to fly, and if you don't do it correctly, it could fly into your eye. So that's why I say I usually use safety glasses on this. So cut that, and you saw I held it. I'm going to do the same thing on this one so it doesn't fly. And if you ever do this around other people, your tendency is to snip that and it goes flying across the room. Be very careful of that. It can fly and go into somebody and hit somebody in the face. By the way, that's experience talking. Go ahead and put this in your handpiece. I need to open that handpiece up a little bit more. Loosen up your set screws. Slide it in. Tighten it up. If anybody uses hand pieces like this and have these brass connectors, those brass connectors are are a lot like sandpaper. They're throwaways. They heat up quite hot. They will become annealed, and quite often, as you twist them, you will strip out the threads. Just take them and throw them away. They're not expensive, so you just replace them. They also get a lot of carbon in them, and whenever that happens, they don't make good connection. So let's go ahead and give this. You can see what it looks like. It's a U shape. Let's go ahead and give it a try. And again, this is 12 gauge wire. I'm going to turn the scorcher to about the temperature I think that it is, and it's really just a guess. I'm going to push on my foot pedal. It's a safety foot pedal. If you look real close, you can probably see some smoke coming off of it as it's burning off the oils. It's going to turn red hot. And I'm probably a little bit too hot. So let's turn it down. There we go. And let's do a test. Let's go ahead and do a test. Let's see if you can get it here. And there's the brand right there. Okay? So, with that, we can go ahead and start branding this, but let me do some setup before we start on that and change the camera. Before I get started, let me tell you a couple things I'm doing. I have these gloves on right here. They're mechanics gloves. That helps keep the smoke off my hands. And if I go in the house, I can take them off, and my wife doesn't accuse me of something that, playing in a fire with Boy Scouts, I guess. And the other thing I do is I wear sunglasses, polarized sunglasses, and the fire pops up, the flames pop up, and makes your eyes go like this. after it goes for about 15 minutes, later on, let's say a couple hours later, you almost feel like you have welder's flash. So for that. I have a vent hood here, and this one actually goes outside, vents it out. I'm going to turn it on, and you'll probably hear a little bit of a hum from it. And I probably won't be doing much talking while I do this part of it. You'll get the good gist of it. So let's go ahead and get started. I have these guidelines on here that I put on while I was on the lathe, and basically all we do now it's ready for branding. I hold it this way so I can see what I'm doing, and I just start in and put heavy brands on it. There's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like. The next step will be to take a wire brush, a fine wire brush, it's a jeweler's brush, and I will remove all that char in there. The next step is to take a wire brush and you brush it real good, get rid of all the char that was down in there, all the burned wood and charcoal that you had. And this usually takes maybe, this is one of the actually pretty hard to do. You take one of these soft jeweler's brushes and scrape it all out. I've been known that on some woods to have to actually get a dental pick and scratch it out because it's in so hard. Remember, you didn't see me doing it on this, but if you have real sappy wood that has a lot of sap in it, your brander or your point will get corroded up with it or gummed up real quickly and won't burn correctly. So you have to use a wire brush like this and brush it off after maybe 4 or 5 burns to keep it clean enough that it'll do the burning like this. This is what it looks like after you're done brushing it off, and you can see that all of it's out, and that takes a good bit of time to brush it all out. It's day 2. This is dried out. As you know, I put black India ink on it. We have used a 12 gauge wire and branded it or scorched it. And the next step that I'm going to do is put on the inside some general finishes, what's called high performance. It will be a satin or semi-gloss. And the reason I'm putting that in, I'm just going to put that on the inside. I'm going to end up with putting 2 coats of that in because people are going to store things in it and possibly in the kitchen, and I want that just to have extra protection on the inside. The way I typically do the inside of the vessels, because you can't get down in them, is I'll use a modified long-handled roller, and this is normally for one that is about 5 or 6 inches. I cut it off, and then I buy the 2-inch mini rollers and put that in, so that way I can get down inside almost any vessel. And that's what I'm going to do now, is go ahead and do that. And in this case, I can just dip it in put it over, and I can get enough in there, and I can put it in. And a few little runs on the inside is probably not going to hurt anything, but we'll make sure that there's no runs. And I just and sometimes I just use the end of it to paint it instead of actually rolling, depending on what size we're dealing with. Now that I've put the first coat of finish on the inside, I'm ready to put a coat of finish on the outside and make it a little more pleasing than just being a flat black of the Indian ink. I'm going to be using this red, was it Truscan, I believe it's pronounced, red from General Finishes. And I typically use a small Deerfoot brush to put it on with. That way I can get down in and I'm not painting it real heavily. So I'm just going to start doing that and putting that on, and I'm just going to just work it down in. And it's going to probably take 3 coats of this, so it's going to take quite a while. I'll probably run this camera on fast forward. There's actually now 2 coats of finish on that because of the dry air in here and the fact I'm putting it on thin. You can put 2 coats on real quick, but I'm not going to put a 3rd coat on until I'm sure that it's well dried. I'll probably put that on either late tonight or tomorrow morning. So anyway, that's what it looks like at this point. Just going to set it up here on this and let it dry and make sure it gets good and hard. Now to the final step. I've let it dry, and now I'm going to put a glazing effects on it. And glazing effects is from General Finishes. I'm sure there's a lot of other good brands out there. In this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm using a bigger brush. I'm going to put it on quite heavy and quite fast, and then I'm going to wipe it off. And the more you wipe, it changes the effect. Now, there's different ways of putting it on. You can probably look those up on YouTube and see a bunch of different methods. I usually keep a bottle of water around because if it gets ahead of me, I can spray it and literally wipe it pretty much off. So let's go ahead and get started. You better make sure you wear good rubber gloves for this, some sort of protection, and have good towels around or rags to be able to wipe it off. So let's go ahead and get started. It won't take long to do this. You just smear it on, and you don't want it to dry too much before you start wiping. You want to work it down into the holes. And that's why I'm putting it on quite heavy, is so that it goes down into the grooves real well. Because those will be, you'll see the effect that that has here in a minute. Again, I'm putting it on real heavy, because I want it down in those burned areas. Okay, now I'm going to start wiping it off. In this particular case, it's wiping too hard. It's going down in, so I need a different type of towel. It's wiping it all out of the grooves, which is way too much. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on, put another layer on, and lightly do it this time, and not quite so heavy as what I was doing. And we're done. Put it on something, let it dry. Back with you. It's been 24 hours since I put the glazing on it. I want to make sure it was good and dry. And what I'm going to do next, because this is going to be possibly sitting on a counter or may get a little more handling on the outside than some other, let's say an artistic piece, I'm going to put this satin clear on it. And I prefer satin versus, let's say, shiny. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do, put that coat on there. I'm going to do that off camera because of the smell. And I really don't want to get it on the camera, so I'll take it over and do it outside here. And then I'll take some pictures and put the pictures on here at the end. So basically it is done.